Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. We are joined by Steve Cleveland, former BYU basketball coach, former Fresno State coach. Steve, good morning.
Good morning, fellas.
Steve, it's that time of year. There's a lot going on in the NBA. Draft picks are getting introduced. Trades are being made. Trades are being rumored. What is intriguing you most right now with multiple storylines zigzagging?
You know, I think the number one thing for me is Darryn Peterson. And obviously we know he's the number 2 pick in the NBA draft. And, great player at Kansas, played for Bill Self. And I just think that he's a guy that the Jazz locally here, I think, can have an immediate impact. Obviously, he was a McDonald's All-American, Naismith Prep Player of the Year. But in this rebuild of the Jazz, in a very young backcourt, obviously with Keontae George, what they do have going, but compared to other issues that the Jazz have had, I think right now that what we see happening here with Darryn Peterson and his ability to shoot the basketball, his ability to make an impact immediately in this, in the program, and hopefully watch this Jazz rebuild unfold in front of all of us. And I think that because of that, there's a few things in my mind that are kind of happening here. Number one, yes, we need to take care of business, but probably number one is Kessler getting an extension. And I think that seems to be in place. Now, hopefully that happens. And then, you look at Will Hardy, who is basically for a number of years now just kind of waited, and they've gone through this process and trying to, break through and eventually between not having a lot of bigs, what's going to happen in free agency, what's the depth of the market, who knows what's going to happen. But does Nurkic and Love return? Who knows? I think it wouldn't be a bad thing for Nurkic to come back and have that kind of size. So him, Filipowski, and do we have a backup center? And then the impactful Robert Williams, who spent the last 3 years at Portland, undersized, but he has an opportunity to really do some things and have an impact. So Darryn Peterson, number one, and then how we all put the pieces together is going to be it'll be interesting to watch and see how it unfolds.
I saw your son Casey Saturday night.
You did?
Yeah.
Where at?
At Sundance.
Oh, yes. You know what? We had tickets to Sundance, and something happened. But at the last minute, we couldn't go. I love going to Sundance, and I love the entertainment there and the music. It's always a cool thing. I'm glad you saw him.
Yeah, it was freaky. He was like he looks like Cleve Jr. now. I mean, he always looked like it to a degree, but as he's gotten older, he's a dead ringer now.
He is. He's a good boy. He's got great kids.
How old is he now?
Oh, don't even ask me that. I'm going to say he's in his mid-40s.
It's kind of ballparking it.
I'm sorry. I should be better than that.
I remember 25, 30 years ago, him running around with the team. I think he was a manager or something. He was around the team a lot.
It's funny. With hoops, he's so involved with AAU, and they have a variety of events that take place throughout the year, and he has a team that he coaches, and it's fun to watch him coach and go to see some of those games and kind of just sit back and enjoy it. And so that's a blessing for a dad who was a coach, and to see his son involved in a different capacity. It's been really fun for me to watch him play and coach and be a part of that whole process of watching not only his own kids but other kids that are moving on and becoming great players.
Yeah, so it was fun. We chatted. We were in line to get refreshments before the show, and we chatted for a few minutes. So it was fun to
Isn't that a great place up there?
Oh yeah, it was awesome, absolutely awesome. Yeah, it was great. I'm going to go back. It's the first time I'd been there. And,
oh no, you got to do that. That's got to be a regular thing.
Yeah. I told the director there that you'll see me back there for sure. It was a great time. Absolutely gorgeous setting, obviously. So, as I watch Darryn Peterson, the thing that I see of all the players involved in the draft is when it comes to scoring, he is the most natural. It's just something that he has an extremely high ability to do from a wing player's perspective. Whatever you want a wing player to do in terms of scoring, I believe he can do it. And with that in mind, it's going to be fascinating to see how Will Hardy brings all this stuff together, because you've got some highly skilled players on that team, and not everybody can do the same thing all the time. From a coaching perspective, what type of challenge is Will Hardy going to face to be able to get it all to mesh?
Well, we've all kind of watched this thing unfold, and we're not quite sure how it's going to, happen and take place. But I'm telling you right now, to just have the pieces and then go forward and figure out what Darryn Peterson's impact's going to have in this program. Obviously, everyone is completely aware of how he'll impact this team. He played for a great college coach in Bill Self. I think, you look at the Jazz, and, Peterson obviously is a shooting guard at 6'6". He's had great accolades, but it is a rebuilding time, and everybody knows that. And it's a very youthful backcourt alongside Keontae George, and who it's done well
and
Ace Bailey, had an impact in the program.
And Ace Bailey, too, yeah.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that. You took the words out of my mouth. And so those are the issues, and what's happening with the pre-draft workouts and those kind of things. You guys are probably way more involved in that than I am. But it's definitely a time that, number one, let's give Kessler an extension, get him his money, get started. That's a good starting point. I think Will Hardy's, the free agency, what's the market for depth? That's his problem and challenges. And I don't know if Nurkic and Love come back. You guys are pretty in the know about that stuff. I don't know. I wouldn't mind having Nurkic back. Love, I'm not necessarily committed to. But the other thing is Portland Trailblazers trading Robert Williams III. That helps the front court. It makes the team better, and he's got a good body, and it'll be fun to watch out and give Kyle Filipowski a kind of a backup center. So we'll see how that plays out. But I love what's happening, and I'm hoping that we can push all the right buttons and get out of this rebuild mode and start winning games and having an impact for the people living in Utah.
It's more of a detail and a footnote, because obviously the story is going to be all the guys who can score it for the Jazz, and how's that going to shake out, and how are those guys going to play. But usually when you have a bunch of guys who can score, it's an opportunity for someone who isn't a scorer to the fan base will fall in love with that player. They may be the 7th, 8th, 10th player, and maybe it's a ball-handling guard. Maybe it's someone who's defensive-minded. We're all old enough to remember when Kurt Rambis. I mean, there are definitely 4 guys on a court who are going to score more than that guy, but people just love the horn rim glasses and battling for every rebound. Do you see anybody on the Jazz roster who's going to earn that role? It's like, hey, you can't score it because you're the 5th option, so doing us all this other stuff, the dirty work, is going to make you be the gutty underdog, and the coaches and the fans are going to fall in love with you.
Yeah, you caught me off guard a little bit, but let's talk. Let me think through this for a moment.
It could be Collier, maybe, but I don't know that there's any time for him to handle the ball. I don't even know if he's going to get it. How much is he going to play? Because is Peterson, Keontae George, Ace Bailey? I mean, there are a lot of guys who might have the ball in their hands, so maybe there isn't space for him. Conchar maybe was kind of sort of in that role last year. Assuming he's back, and we'll see how they, could be a trade here. Who's to say who's going to be back? Any of these guys could be in a trade. I just didn't know if there's somebody you really like, someone who played well without the ball. Coaches always love the person who can impact the game without having the ball and taking the shot.
I think probably for me, if I was picking my team, I really like Sensabaugh. I mean, he kind of probably will shift to the 3 from the power forward. We'll see how that all plays out. But what I do like about him is that he has the versatility. He has the ability to play with the ball or without the ball. And obviously you've got Walker Kessler and veterans like Nurkic and, those kinds of people. I don't know what will happen there or what the mid-level exceptions are. You guys are probably more in tune with that. But I do like the fact that there is some depth here. And so there's not an immediate, yes, Peterson is going to have an impact. Yes, he's going to be given the keys to the kingdom here and move forward. But when I look at Keontae George and Isaiah Collier and Elijah, Harkless, kind of a two-way guy, Ace Bailey, they have the pieces. And I think what's great about this is we actually have a guy that is ready. He's played in the collegiate system for great coaches, and now he has a chance to really help this program. And I think that, if Sensabaugh ends up at the 3 and Jaren Jackson obviously is a big part of this group, you got better defenders, Cody Williams, Kyle Filipowski, both guys that have gotten better defensively. So, I don't know a lot about the levels of exception and so forth in terms of what they have the ability to go and get. But I like this team. I like the depth. And I think that Darryn Peterson answers a lot of questions. And, yes, he's the number 2 pick in the NBA draft and all of that. But I just feel like he's ready to have an impact. He has had all the accolades, and they're at a point, do they need to to rebuild? And no better time now than with having Darryn Peterson be at the foundation of that.
College game, some legislation, some stuff that's out there. What do you think about the situation where we're talking about you got 5 years to compete and you get 1 free transfer? It seems like there's something that needs to be done, particularly when you get somebody like a May winning the title at Michigan and then going over to the Dallas Mavericks, and you hear stuff about the college game isn't sustainable. So it seems like, I don't know that solves everything, but maybe that's something that needs to be implemented.
I agree with that something has to be done. And when I look at that and look at the Jazz and how it impacts the Jazz, it is confusing for me. And I don't really have an answer to that. And I understand it because I do follow this a great deal. But I'm just going to defer here. What are your thoughts? Because I just think that with Peterson being a shooting guard and doing all the things that he's doing and the impact that he's going to have, I just don't understand where we're going with this. And maybe you can give me some insights on how can we be in this situation. And, Will Hardy, go back to Will Hardy, who's trying to work this thing out and looking to have more depth. And what do I do with, Nurkic and Love, and what happens to Filipowski, and all of those kind of questions that need to be answered. But I think maybe one of the most impactful things in my mind is Robert Williams. I think he might have more impact than all of the guys we've been talking about and listening and over the last several weeks and months. And I think he's somebody that, I know he didn't put up huge numbers at Portland, but he is a little undersized, but he's a guy that can really have an impact. And he's got the experience. He's mature. And so I'm hoping to see him blossom and help this Jazz team have more depth and have more sustainability in building this program again.
I'm intrigued by Robert Williams. He was in Boston, so the Angels know him well. There's been a lot of talk about interest in him in free agency. And because of all the things you say, the Lakers are looking for somebody, the Blazers, the Celtics, with the Jazz go in there. I just don't know the price tag there. If they're going with Walker Kessler, I don't see how they're going to have the money or the playing time that Robert Williams would want. So he ends up getting squeezed out. If Kessler doesn't work out for whatever reason, and I'm leaning towards he does work out, then I could see where, is that someone you pivot towards? Your thought on Nurkic coming back? if there's enough money, he's a different kind of player than Kessler, so I can see why that's attractive. Kessler offensively is going to be down at the dunk spot, and Nurkic can be dragging his guy away from the hoop. We saw him play, beyond the top of the key outside the three-point line and create room for, Peterson to drive or Ace Bailey or Keontae or whoever.
Right.
So, all those Austin Ainge's thing was we don't have any centers on the roster and they have to get two, but they have to be able to afford them. And then how do those two complement each other? So Will Hardy has a lineup. Sometimes you need to have a lineup that matches what the other team is doing. Sometimes you need to have a lineup. It's like, well, we can't match what we're doing, but we're going to do something different, and we're going to try to make you match us. But you got to give a coach the different skill sets and the options, or that doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that for me, I'd like to keep Nurkic in the mix, and I don't know that that's going to happen or not. But I think that we're talking about there are other centers in this team. What? I don't even know if it matters. We're playing positionless basketball these days, and I would like to see Nurkic. I like his game. He can provide some size. He's a guy that looks like he should be a center, but I don't know that he's going to return. I don't really know what's going to happen there. But certainly. Robert Williams III helps the front court, but again, is that the answer? I'm not sure, but I don't think those are bad choices. And I think that in my mind, the most impactful guy, as I've already mentioned, is Robert Williams, and he spent last 2 or 3 years at Portland, I know, and he's undersized, but he's a guy that could fit with Darryn. And we know Darryn Peterson's going to be a franchise guy for these guys. He's a kind of a cornerstone with the ability to really score. Doesn't have great size or anything, but he is a shooter. And I think he's excited to play with Markkanen and Jackson. And those are guys that will be, mentors for him. And hopefully his transition will be quick and he'll have an impact immediately. Like I've always said, you can't have enough shooters. And not at the expense of having no defense, but you can't really – great shooters really make teams, and that kind of depth is really important as guys get hurt. So hopefully they'll make those decisions, and the Jazz will be better as a result of the draft and as a result of trades, and hopefully Coach Hardy will, dip into the free agency market and make Utah better and make them, having a presence in the NBA, and they haven't for a long time. We've been rebuilding and rebuilding. We need to get off that and give these young guys a chance to step up, make plays, and get confident. It's really hard to get confidence if you're not playing. And so I think we're at a point now with Peterson, who's going to immediately come in and impact the program, that we're going to see the Jazz taking steps forward, and that it is a priority to, number one, bring Kessler back. Maybe Nurkic, let's make sure we get him there. You got Filipowski, who's a backup center, Robert Williams. I think the Jazz have made some good moves, and hopefully they'll continue to make some here in the near future and make the Jazz more, and just make them more real and in a position to get better. And I think we're all kind of waiting in the state of Utah to see this thing get better, and I think the pieces are there, and it starts with Darryn Peterson.
Steve, thanks for the time. We will talk to you again. We appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
Steve Cleveland, former BYU and Fresno State basketball coach. Mike Folta, Utah Mammoth radio voice on SEG Media, is going to join us at 9 o'clock to talk about the Mammoth trades and draft pick and the new goaltender. We'll get to that at 9 o'clock. Coming up next, Darryn Peterson had one thing to say, addressing the issue that everybody wants to hear addressed. You heard the answer that you probably expected to hear. To what degree are you buying it? We will get to that next. Stay with us.
Welcome to This is Chase Scott and Ben Anderson.
Everything I have heard, Walker loves Utah. Walker wants to be in Utah. Walker's happy in Utah. Walker would prefer to end up in Utah, but he just wants as much money as possible.
He was around the team an incredible amount last year.
Yep, he was.
He was with them on the road on trips that he absolutely did not need to go to for a player that shut it down for the entire year. And he was with them at the end of the year, again, where he had even less incentive to be with the team, around the players, around the new players in and Jaren Jackson Jr.
The Jazz love Walker the person. They really like Walker the player. They want him to be a part of their team. But you can't pay the wrong person too much money because then you're not building a championship team anymore. You know, you're not building a contending team. You're just paying your dudes because you like your dudes, and that's not the job. You've got to get everybody in the right place at the right price.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Darryn Peterson got introduced over the weekend. He got the question, of course, about Kansas and sitting out games. He says he's been working out 3 times a day, and whatever happened in Kansas is behind me. That was the answer. That was the answer that needed to be said. But are you buying the answer?
Yes.
I don't think there was a better answer.
I am buying it.
100% or to a degree?
As much as can be purchased right now.
Okay. That's the answer I wanted to hear out of you. Because you can't really know right now. I thought the other answer, the twin answer that went with this, is that Peterson was talking about Keontae George and going to dinner with him and asking what it was like. And he said that Keontae told him, however hard you think it is, multiply it by 10.
Yeah, I think that's an exaggeration.
It is, but it gets to the point, and we always hear the rookie wall. You've never played 82 games, the dog days. So how much is he going to be able to push through that? How much is he going to play? Are they going to have to cut his minutes or his games? I mean, this story looms in the background, so they're going to have to be careful about sitting.
Well, if you can get advice from that sage old man, Keontae George, take it and run with it. That's what I said about Patty Mills. I thought that was such an overblown story.
Yeah.
You're much more receptive from your peers. Mm-hmm. And when you're 18 years old and someone is 35,
they might as well be 65. Yeah. They might as well be 85.
But
yeah.
George is one of your own.
He just went through it. And Keontae can just say, yeah, the college was one thing. And they both have the Big 12 experience, right?
You're getting counsel from a peer.
The Big 12
Not
is one
you
thing.
View as an old man.
This is going to be different.
Yeah, and I think that's the point that he was making. And just the grind. It is the college is, especially now with them going charters, it's not much of a grind. I mean, the conference tournament and all that with the number of games, but even though you're not traveling, well, the NBA taking part of it in a smaller level that I did, I mean, you literally sometimes get on the elevator and you're not sure which number to pick because you can't remember. And because everything is a blur. So I think that Keontae being able to tell him that, and even if you tell him that, it's like my mother, when she came over to visit us after we lived in California and we were talking about buying a house, and I said, oh, Mom, man, they're real estate. Well, until we went out on a Saturday and I showed her, this is what you get for this price that I couldn't afford. It's like, oh my gosh. Some things you just have to experience and go through, and you can have people telling you, but you have to see it, feel it, taste it, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be the case. And for him right now, speaking of Darryn Peterson, to say what he said, he's really been addressing it, and he's been addressing it without an attitude of frustration. It's like, instead of, oh, come on, can we put that around? Nope. That's in the past, and I've been working out 3 times a week. He's answered that question to himself, and clearly he's answered it to the Jazz brass.
Austin made that really clear. Yeah. And Austin was really good about skirting around words that trigger people like Kansas and creatine, all that. But when Austin gives the answer as a trained professional, when he gives the answer, I know, 100%. When he gives the answer, we spoke to a lot of people who are around him in high school and AAU and all that. It's like, yeah, we know what you're asking. We know what you're talking about. We can see what you're referencing. Right. And yes, they were putting to bed their fears that if we draft this guy and he ends up being 47-game guy, that's no good. Right. Clearly, right? And so Austin was making the point, we're comfortable with this. We know what you're looking at. We're looking at it too. We get to talk to a bunch of people that you don't get to, and they spelled it out for us, and we're comfortable.
Right. And that's the most important thing in right now. Now, when we get to April, DPGP will be...
Oh, we're all going to watch that. Yeah. We're going to watch that nonstop.
And right now, I feel confident that GP games played will be sufficient enough to where, all right, that's no longer an issue. And knock on wood, he doesn't have any injury, but it's almost like you want a broken leg or something, and because then, okay, if he has that, that's not.
I get where you're going. I get where you're going. Right. No soft tissue injuries.
Yeah, where we can't see it.
Have it be definitive.
Yeah, obviously we don't want that.
Right. But the best case is 82 games.
Yeah.
But if the number has to be 62, please let it be. For some reason, there's clear cut and nothing can be done about it.
And everyone, Stockton missed a bunch of games too, one season out of 50.
Right.
But
we knew it was a knee, and we knew what that was all about.
Right. And of course, by the time he had that, he had all sorts of credibility stored up that no one ever questioned.
No, but we see guys run off the floor sometimes, and we're like, "What's your deal?" And other times, you're like, "Yeah, I saw that elbow to the face, and there was blood everywhere. I know what your deal is."
And maybe try to persevere, even if you have a bad game. Like, show some toughness. And then I think because I think his teammates will be looking at it too. It's not just ding-dongs like you and me.
No.
It'll be to the guys. And the guys know, especially if the guys, there's going to be guys out there that aren't going to feel their best, but they understand now that, okay, the days of, you sneezed at 2 o'clock, you're out. Those days are gone.
You got to push through stuff.
And I think that's what will show to his team and to everybody. And I just get the impression, maybe it's because I want it, that's going to be the case. He understands the knock, so he's going to do everything in his power to be out there to answer that question. And then if he rolls out there and plays 75 games his rookie year, okay, and has a really good season, then everyone's going to be talking about that. It's not going to be what happened in a third of the Kansas's games. And the frustration that was evident on Bill Self's face, you could see it during the games. And he got weary of having to answer the same storyline and so forth. So I like what he said. Right now, I'm going to take him at face value. I have no reason to think he's going to lie because I think players want to play. That's what brings them happiness and joy, is playing.
Can't make a bucket sitting on the sideline.
Not watching.
Yeah. Jeff Hornacek, I'm here to play basketball, not to watch basketball.
You wonder how many of these guys who don't have jobs in the media, the former players, how much they even pay attention to it.
You hear them all the time say not a lot.
Yeah.
Or
they like to play, not watch.
Or if they do watch, they watch fourth quarters. I've heard multiple players say that.
Yeah.
I can't sit here and watch all these games. I'll turn on the fourth quarter to see who's going to win.
Yeah.
I think that the stat to your point about DP, GP, add MP, I wonder how many minutes they'll play him, knowing there's going to be a rookie wall and he hasn't had to play 82 games against these players at this level. You know, is he going to be playing 26, 28, 30, 34 minutes? And where's that going to fall? And are they going to try to cushion that a little bit?
What were your minutes?
How many minutes a game are they going to play?
I
just threw out a bunch of numbers. I think I threw 25 out first. And up to 34.
Yeah, I'd be
35.
shocked if he played over 30.
I can see why you'd say that. And I think that's part of how they get him to play more games. And I think on a roster that has depth, you get buy-in from players. You get to exploit matchups during the game. You keep everybody involved. So I can see why. And we're seeing it with other players around the league. We're seeing star players where their minutes are managed with one eye towards the playoffs. Okay, we're not going to sit you a lot of games. But, you know, you look at Wembayama and that kind of stuff.
I mean, but his body.
And his body accentuates and demands it. But I think the Jazz roster, if they think they're deep.
Well, they are.
And want to try different combinations.
They've got players, man. That's what's cool about this, is that if they didn't have a pick in the 26th draft, or they had a second-round pick, that I would still have high expectations for them.
Well, that the trade and the fact that getting Kessler back, because he didn't play at all, and the fact Markkanen played just a little more than half the season, like that's...
Well, the development of George, the development of Collier.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a lot to throw in the
Flipper can help you for a bit. Mm-hmm. Sense of ball, can put the ball in a basket. None of them done it at a big time pressure situation. We got to have you make a play for us to win a ball game. I understand that, but still, for those guys, they viewed those playing times that they got as pressure situations. Because it was for them. They're trying to survive in a big boy cutthroat business. So, yeah, absolutely. So even though they haven't done all this at the highest stage, I still think for them it's a pretty big stage that they were on. And so Will Hardy will have a lot of weapons at his disposal. He'll certainly have more than he's ever had. I don't think anybody questions that. And then so that means Peterson, if you want to get out on the floor, you're going to have to compete. Even though you're the second pick, you're not the second pick in the manner that A.J. DeBonsa basically shows up and he's going to get 30 minutes. Cameron Boozer shows up and he's going to get 30 minutes because those teams need him. The Jazz this year, they want Peterson and they need him to develop, no question. But in terms of success of the season, I don't think they literally need him in the manner that the other guys who are drafted, his peers in the draft at the top end of the draft, will be counted on because they don't have as much. And that's what's cool about it. Competition will be there. You want to play, you've got to do it right from the start, starting this week in the Summer League. What better way is to have a great impression here in Salt Lake and then whatever you do down in Vegas and then go work out for the month of August and we'll reconvene here around Labor Day and away we go.
I think most of us believe, and I'm certainly on the list, I think you are too, but I think a lot of Jazz fans believe there are 6 guys on the Jazz roster who can be long-term starters in the NBA. Now, the Jazz, and I brought this point up, and it's already irritating you, and I'll bring it up more.
You got
irritate you
Sevy?
more.
Is he one of them?
Svi? No, I don't have Svi.
Well, you should get Svi.
Kessler, Jackson, Markkanen, Keontae, DP, and Ace Bailey.
Ace.
So there's 6 guys who can be long-term starters. And you can juggle that with minutes played and guys missing games.
I think it's long-term minutes played guys.
Long-term minutes played guys in the
matter
NBA.
if they start.
It really doesn't. Now, at some point, they're not going to be able to afford all those guys, but they can lose one. They play multiple positions, so they're already starting to build a roster that they can be good for a long time.
You know why you're wrong about the money?
Why?
Is because when guys hear of them possibly being traded from here, they break down and cry.
You love that quote. That quote's not going anywhere.
I didn't make it up.
No, I know you didn't.
So guys will take way less to be here because this is utopia.
That'll be super interesting to see if they can make that happen. That'll be awesome if they can make that happen. When you can get people to take the discount. In San Diego, they used to call it the hometown discount, even for people from out of state. I never understood that. But, yeah.
I think it's a phrase that's everywhere.
Yeah. The hometown discount.
And the thing about that is that was 15, 20 years ago. When you say San Diego, you're talking about Steve Fisher.
Nice. I'm not. I could be, but I'm not. I was talking about the Padres. But it has occurred to me, although I have no specific stories, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point I heard a story or two. Man, they get a lot of transfers. Yeah, they do.
The weather.
I don't know how that works exactly, but I've got some suspicions.
And I had no problem with it then. I got no problem with it now.
Yeah.
But that stuff I think sorts itself out.
Well, and I think to your point about less than 30 minutes, that helps sort it out. And that keeps young guys who may be hitting a wall, especially the rookies hitting the wall, and it keeps people ready for the playoffs. And there's going to be anticipation and expectation, hopefully, when we get to the postseason. But you got to have your guys. We all see teams, and we saw so many playoff series this year. I can't say decided because maybe if everybody had been there, the result would have been the same. But we saw a lot of playoff series impacted, nightly, game to game, impacted based on who was available.
I think that's always going to happen going forward.
I think you're right. And so I think that's why we're going to continue to see load management. And that can come in multiple forms, whether it's giving a guy a night off, not making a guy go on a 1 or 2 game road trip and keeping him off an airplane, or whether players who used to play 32, 34, 36 minutes are now playing 26, 28, or 30 minutes.
I think that's the way you manage it.
I like that for a lot of reasons. You got to have the roster.
Best for the game.
You got to have a lot. You were just saying like Boozer's going to play 30-plus minutes because they don't have the roster for it. The Jazz do seem to have the roster for it.
Yeah.
So keep guys involved, keep the buy-in, keep guys ready to go. When RSL starts playing again, Pablo can talk to this about guys where when there were 3 games in a week, some of the assistant coaches were saying, hey, let's play this guy all 3 nights. He's like, no, let's rotate a guy in. and let's swap. One guy's coming in as sub, one guy's starting. Let's have the sub start and the guy who normally starts sub and keep that buy-in. Keep everybody, because you need everybody. You need everybody involved. You can't exist with 9 in baseball. You can't exist with 11 in soccer. You can't exist with just 5 in basketball. Spread the minutes around, keep them involved. But who plays the big minutes and who plays the last 5 minutes or 2 or 6, whatever number you want to pick,
as long as it's
really
deserved.
Matters. Yes, but part of that is keeping the competition up, and the competition decides, you're right, who gets more. Some of these players we're talking about are going to be, they're going to have to be 18-minute players. And somebody's going to have to be a 28-minute player.
That's a
but
significant portion of the game.
You've got to earn your 18 over the guy who's not getting anything or is getting less than 10.
You've got to be productive. 18, right. That's obviously
it's
a quarter
still a
and a
big
half.
Stretch.
So, you can
make stuff happen.
You have to.
For better or worse.
Right. And we're talking about those 6 guys, and those are the 6 guys that everybody would evaluate. But what is going to happen for a kid like Collier? What is he going to be able to do?
Yeah.
I don't want to cut him off at the knees.
I want
him to be able to do what he's capable of doing. Obviously, he's not going to come down, pull up, and start jacking. That's just not something. But get him in the transition game and his speed and his strength and getting to the basket or dishing it off as he's approaching the basket.
So,
I still want to see that stuff. So those guys have roles, and that's what Will Hardy, man, whatever money he's got to whatever his paycheck is, he's going to earn it more than ever in this upcoming season. It's going to be so fascinating to see. The intrigue is off the charts. And for so many years, in my 30-plus years of being here, you knew what was going to happen. You knew when Jerry Sloan was going to make the substitutions and so forth. Well, now you got all this available talent, and most of it is still unknown to the level of trying to compete to win. Now, you can even put marketing in this category. Only maybe Jaren Jackson, he has played in a situation where he's competing to win. Marketing really hasn't since he's been here. Well, now him, along with all these younger dudes, everyone's going to be going for the goal. The goal is going to be determined by the scoreboard, not that they tried hard anymore. We're done with that storyline. Forget that. And so how does it all come together? That's where I'm at, the intrigue and the fascination aspect.
I think for a player like Collier, there's 3 or 4 storylines looming out there. It'll be really interesting to see what he thinks. Maybe this is where the development coach helps get in his head and help channel what he thinks, and then Collier takes it and runs with it. We can get to that next. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCoe.
Brian Haney joins us now. He is the play-by-play voice of the Kansas Jayhawks. I know that Darryn desperately wanted to be that number 1 overall pick. He's got himself into a good situation here. I know he realizes it. I know this team realizes it. This feels like a win-win for both sides.
For a guy that Bill Self has said is going to be a perennial NBA All-Star, this is maybe just the extra chip on his shoulder or competitive edge he might need to fuel his fire into being one of the most prolific players of his generation. This was just one player picked in front of Darryn, but because he's such an alpha, I kind of think if I'm a Jazz fan, not only am I thrilled to get the player that Jay Billis says is the most talented prospect in the draft, but also you get a player that now has just even more fuel to his fire to push even harder and build on that legacy that we all think is inevitable for him at the next level.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
We all have routines. I'm Jabron, and with diabetes, mine was finger sticks. Sometimes I skip them because they hurt. The Freestyle Libre 3CGM changed that. It gives me glucose insights without finger sticks. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
Finger sticks are required if your glucose alarms or readings do not match symptoms, or when you see check blood glucose symbol for the first 12 hours. The views expressed should not be used for medical diagnosis or treatment as a substitute for professional medical advice. Individual circumstances may vary. For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. So before the break, we were talking about the Jazz and 6 guys who could start or play starters minutes, who will close games. That's all intriguing. And then you were bringing up some of the younger guys who've been watching we develop. And like, as you said, I don't want to cut Isaiah Collier off at the knees. What's his role? Every player has a development coach. So I would expect that there are conversations between them all the time. We always heard about how Alex Jensen, who was an assistant for the Jazz at the time with Rudy Gobert and, hey, Rudy, this is what you need to add. This is how you fit in. This is what you can do. So somebody's having that conversation with Isaiah Collier now. We'll just use him because you brought him up. Is the goal here this summer, hey, spend a lot of time with Walker Kessler working on the pick and roll. Recreate what Joe Ingles had with Rudy Gobert. That helped get Joe on the floor and keep him on the floor. He could run a pick and roll. He could go get Gobert dunks. Not a guy who had a lot of different options to his game, but he had this one area it could be devastating. If he got anywhere near the rim, he was throwing it down. They were going to average 2 points per possession. Guaranteed. So that's one way to get Collier on the floor. Now, another way is to say, hey, you're going to play the anti-Kessler minutes. When Kessler sits, whoever the backup is presumably has a different skill set and can play outside so they can have 5 out. That opens up the hoop for Collier to drive. That opens up the other team has to collapse on him and he gets somebody else easy shots. He could really seize that role. And it could be, and the Jazz did this a long time ago, and they didn't do it a lot, but Jerry Sloan did it when he had guys he thought fit. He got 3 young guys, and they played. We've been talking about how the Jazz can run big lineups out there. Well, they could also run a super small athletic lineup out there and just try to defend and break, get deflections, get steals, put pressure on the ball, and run and run and run. Collier could be really good in that role. Peterson could be really good in that role. Ace might be really good. Maybe Keontae. I mean, maybe you do have a much smaller lineup and played these young guys. What do they have a knack for? There's going to have to be a little bit of trial and error to figure this out. But I see several different roles for Collier. And then here's another role. You don't excel at any of these things. You can't earn your way on the court. And all the minutes go to these other guys. And plus, maybe they bring in a veteran. And you say you don't want to get him cut off at the knees. But he's got to figure out one of these things or he will get squeezed out. Now, maybe not cut off at the knees, because when you say that, I think off to the G League or off to Europe with you. And I think he's shown enough to get another shot somewhere in the NBA. But that's not the way you got to think. You got to think, what am I going to do with this team here? And I'm going to earn my way in. And so there's 3 or 4 potential paths for him.
3 or 4? Then that'd be no problem.
But he's got to seize one of them, because also all those doors could slam on him.
But I don't think you can ask him to do what he hasn't done. He's now carved a niche for himself, and it's got to be that.
Well, I think that the most obvious one out of all those scenarios for me is that he plays the anti-Kessler minutes. And you have him out there with 4 shooters who spread the floor, and he's got a path to the hoop because people are having a real hard time staying in front of that guy. And if they have to double him early to get the ball out of his hands, now it's an open shot. It's a chance for somebody else to drive. To me, that's the most obvious way to get him on the court. But when he gets on the court, if you're not going with that super small lineup, then you're sitting Peterson, you're sitting Ace, you're sitting Keontae. What are you doing? Somebody's got to go. But there's usually time for a 4th guard. So
that's why I'm not so
big on bringing in a veteran.
Yeah. At what expense? Now they got that mid-level. What's it, $15 million or whatever it might be? But I would still try to develop, unless it's a surefire dude who can really, really help you. I'm not sure that I'm in love with any of the folks that I've looked at the list of the free agents. Now, maybe there will be some trades that we're unaware of, obviously, on that, and then will come to pass if it does. But I wouldn't. My point that I'm making is
you're not slam dunk on the veteran.
Cast aside these young guys who've been on the team for 2 or going into their 3rd years, and each of them have had some moments.
100%.
It's not like they've been a waste.
I think they've all done enough that they'll get a shot somewhere else in the NBA if the Jazz decide to move on, because they have had those moments, and people look at it and say, well, they got squeezed out there because of a numbers game, but they can help us. A team like Memphis. There's always, the bottom quarter of the league is always rebuilding, and they're always looking for younger talent. And in a way, they don't mind bringing someone in who's, getting that second chance in their 3rd, 4th, 5th year. It's like, someone else did the development.
I'm not even close to that point for these guys. That seems to me a little bit wasteful that you spent all this time playing these guys big minutes, and now your team's got better, so I don't need you anymore.
I don't think any of those guys are getting released. The point is, will they have value in a trade? That's where I think they would give up on them. I don't think they're just going to waive these guys. I don't think any of these guys are walking.
Oh, but no, I mean, they're under contract and all that, so, but just sit on the end of the bench? No. I want to see them out there. And they'll be in Isaiah Collier will probably never play 48 minutes for the Jazz ever again. And I'm fine with that.
That's fine. That was an extreme circumstance.
Right. But to just go from that to nothing, garbage time, it seems like a waste.
Yeah.
Because I still think these young fellas still have more to grow, more to give. And I want to see it. Now, it'll be in a reduced role, and you're trying to win, and so it's not about development of these young guys anymore in terms of that being the priority each night at 7 o'clock. I understand that, but I still think that they've got some talent that could be used in spot situations, and I want to see them be able to make the improvement that, they're probably not good enough to make the improvement that Keontae George made. I get that, but I still think they've got more room before we start looking at and say, okay, this is who you are, Isaiah Collier. This is who you are, whomever. Sensible.
So I think there's room for a fourth guard to play 15 minutes a night, give or take a little bit. But just to use a round number, we'll go with 15. If you're the fifth guard, you're not playing. But the four guys in front of you are going to miss on average 10 to 12 games a year.
So you have to.
So that means
you can't have those guys just sitting over there and all of a sudden you go
40 to 48 nights a year, roughly half the season. They are the fourth guard getting those 10 or 15 minutes. And do they all come in a row? And do you move up in the pecking order and beat some guy out because you play when your chance comes? That will be the fun of watching the regular season and watching them sort all that out.
I think a kid like Sieve, is that how you say it?
Sieve. Yeah, you're close enough.
That's
Go ahead.
too difficult.
Sieve.
Go ahead.
He can handle that and be fine with it. But these young guys.
Yeah, Svi and
I don't know
Conchar.
they're in that situation yet.
Svi and Conchar do seem to be sit over there for a week or 10 days, and then they check in and look pretty good in the first 5 minutes. I know what you're getting at. We've seen a little bit out of that. We haven't had to see that with Collier or Sensabaugh because they've been the young guys. They've been playing pretty much every night. But that's why they were told to seize those minutes because that wasn't coming around. As soon as we saw the Jackson trade, everybody knew.
To see Oscar Deshiwe be an all-star for somebody else will hurt me.
No, it won't.
Yes, it will.
Because it's not going to happen.
I want the Big O right here.
The Big O's an all-star. No!
All right, you be the one to tell me.
An all-star for the Lakers. How did that happen? The worst-case scenario.
Does the name Austin Reeves ring a bell?
There it is.
The highest paid undrafted free agent ever? What a title.
Yeah, you better thank the Detroit Pistons for that.
I would love that title.
Yep. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The always entertaining Mike Folta, radio voice of your Utah Mammoth, joins us next to talk draft day and trades. Stay with us.